The Hawai'i Sports Radio Network on 95.1 FM and AM 760 presents Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ule Agbayani.
Good morning, beautiful people. Let's wake up in the den. Ku'ule Agbayani, Paul Brex. Happy Aloha Friday. Welcome into the show. I'm starting the show standing up, and kind of my little hyper squad got into me. It's our Friday, I guess our newly dubbed Aloha Friday / YouTube Friday intro that we use here on the Hawai'i Sports Radio Network. Again, a lot of fun coming up. Well, I don't know about fun. Maybe a little venting, maybe a little fun. I don't know. We'll see things are going to get weird today, as sometimes they do on this Aloha Friday. So far, there is no appearance from Alan Mia. As you guys heard me on Wednesday, invite him to our YouTube show, but nowhere to be seen right now. And I joke though, I believe he went out on Wednesday and then last night, so he just can handle where I went out last night. Actually, I was out Wednesday and Thursday night, but I'm only 25, so I can't knock Alan because he's in his 40s and I'm 25, so it's easy for me to recover and get back into the studio.
I when I came in this morning, I wasn't let in by Uncle Alan, while I was waiting for you to open the garage door, so I was a little worried because I had forgotten that he had mentioned he had things to do. You're right, though. For guys like him, he
Not
deserves
young people like us.
Right. He deserves and he needs a little bit more time to recover.
He blames it on his daughter, but that's a lie.
That's why you have kids, so you can blame your issues on them later on.
Exactly, that you can't get up. Anyways, coming up a little later in the show, probably the big news is that today, or we'll probably spend most of the time talking about pickleball. Just kidding. Just kidding.
I was excited. I'm a big pickleball guy. It was my favorite gym class
We will
unit.
talk some WNBA, though, as that season starts today. So coming up later in the show, we will talk some NBA, WNBA. Paul and I actually are rooting for the same team when it comes to the WNBA, so that's pretty cool. But no, first, we're going to obviously start off with the biggest news locally is that Craig Angelos.
Every time I look at it, I'll think of that.
Craig Angelos has been officially confirmed as the next University of Hawaii at Manoa athletics director. He was voted on yesterday by the Board of Regents. It's already starting as we lost one of our cameras. All right, so far that one's going though, but it's okay. But yeah, he was confirmed yesterday and will be starting on the job on June 5th. Just a reminder that David Matlin's last day on the job is June 2nd, but Craig Angelos was voted in with 8 ayes, 2 nay, and 1 abstain. One of the shocking things was how much, somebody was, you can leave it. It's fine. I'll set it up during the break. We still got our one main camera over there. This is what happens when we're trying to do our whole YouTube thing at the same time. There's only 2 of us doing stuff new. This is what happens. It's okay. We're rocking and rolling. I told you things were going to get weird, and it already started. We lost the camera. Happy Aloha Friday. But coming up a little later, we will play at least Craig's intro speech from yesterday. We were able to actually broadcast the entire press conference live yesterday afternoon. So if you did miss it, we will have just his opening statements. And then if you want to listen to the full press conference, that's about 30 minutes long, we have that available at hawaiisportsradio.com or wherever you get most podcasts, and just look for us at Hawaii Sports Radio. So you can listen to it. And pretty good. He gave me good vibes. Again, not in a unanimous vote. So I kind of want to talk about that before we talk about Craig himself. Yeah, just the 2 nay. And by the way, just to recap, it was Regent Gabriel Lee and Regent Laurie Tochiki who voted against, or who voted nay. And then it was Abigail Mawai, the student regent, who was the one to abstain. So that's just where the votes lie. And then everyone else voted to confirm. One of the main topics when they were discussing yesterday. So they went into their executive session. It's supposed to be private because there are legal things that can come up, which is why they do it behind closed doors. But it was a long time. Granted, Dan Meisenzahl, the UH spokesperson, he prepared as well, and he had said initially that some of those executive sessions can last anywhere from 15 minutes to 90 minutes or longer. And in this case, it was the old and longer portion. Luckily, Paul and I were just hanging out in studio as HCC is just right down the road. But I'm just like, what in the world are they discussing? So when they came out, they just kind of had their, I don't want to say issues, but kind of issues. They were just basically saying that except for Gabriel Lee, it seemed like for the most part, the biggest issue of the regents were just the process. Like that was the commonality between everyone. The process. Was this the best process? Improvements in the process, blah, 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 blah. I didn't like, however, how they were saying there wasn't enough time. Because I'm like, wait a minute. Didn't you guys get the agenda 6 days beforehand that had it had President Lassner's recommendation and why he's recommending Craig Angelos. It had all of his qualifications, basically like longer than any resume I've seen in my life. And yeah, and then the offer letter to Craig Angelos. So you have 6 days to read that thing. So I'm like, what do you mean you don't have enough time? I just didn't understand it. And then I got the impression of, are you guys like trying to say that you deserve to actually pick from a handful of candidates? Like, to me, that's not what the regents are supposed to do. So just to remind everyone about what the process is, it's that the only reason the Board of Regents are allowed is because they have that policy or reorganization at the UH where anytime so President Lassner is the direct supervisor of the Director of Athletics. So he does the hiring, but there is a level above that needs to sign off on that hire, essentially. And you just deserve to get the gist of it. The Board of Regents aren't involved every day with the athletics department, but I was getting the impression like they expected to see all the finalists and whatnot. Like, I don't know why, because they wouldn't be able to make a sound decision. They don't know what goes on every single day in athletics. At least President Lassner is actually at games. He's always interacting with fans, with student athletes. He's there all the time. You can see him sitting courtside, Simplify Arena at Stan Jeff Center. You see him at every single football game. So he's actively involved in the athletics department and the games. Like, you don't see the Board of Regents. You don't see the Board of Regents around. So, but that's the impression I got, is that they expected to at least be involved in, like, almost being in President Lassner's position and wanting to see the finalists, and then they wanted to decide who was going to be selected. And I'm like, when I kept hearing them say that there's not enough time. You had 6 days to read up and do your research on Craig Angelos. Like, what do you mean you don't have enough time?
Yeah, I didn't necessarily understand the lack of time comments, and I've seen that on social media as well, where there were complaints about how the process felt rushed. And obviously I haven't been here for previous processes, but I have seen these go on in other places, and I don't know, it kind of felt like the board, if they did expect to be involved more, it just kind of felt like they were out of touch with how these things normally go, at least in normal collegiate sport, because from everything that I've pieced together and everything that I've experienced in my time, and for people who don't know, like I'm a pretty big sports guy. I'm a big sports fanatic. I've spent time coaching at the college level. Like I've done a few things when it comes to college sports, and none of this was like, oh wow, this feels shady, and like they're trying to rush this along and trying to get this guy through. I mean, for Pete's sake, we went back and we even changed the search committee so that people felt better about who was representing the people of Hawaii as they're trying to pick this next athletic director. And they did exactly that. They brought in, for God's sake, they brought in a former NFL wide receiver to help choose. You think that these people have no idea about who can perform in the job and who can handle the culture and the state of Hawaii? Because Angelos, he did mention that yesterday as well. Like, he understands he has a lot to learn coming here, and he's not naive to the fact that he doesn't know everything yet. But the good news for fans of the university and for people of Hawaii in general is he's willing to learn. And on top of his willingness to learn, he also has a lot of capabilities in, like you mentioned, his resume that is so extensive that it matches up with some of the best that you see. And that's why he was among those 8 to 10 names that were forwarded, and then the 3 to 5 finalists, and ended up being the one that David Lassner picked. Like, this was a whole process that went over the course of, a couple of months, and it's just, I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me why.
I don't understand why there were so many issues about that in their little roundtable public discussion, because, I mean, hey, in every single job, in all walks of life, the process is never going to be perfect for everybody. Just like the candidates selected in this position, in any position, in coaching positions, you won't have 100% support. There's always going to be naysayers and doubters, it's human nature. People will have their reservations, and that's fine. Again, like I talked about yesterday, it's fine to have maybe some reservation. I just don't like the instant, bashing that we've seen on social media without even giving this poor guy a chance. But yeah, those two things stood out to me the most, is the process. And David Lassner answered it when asked about it in the press conference portion about the process, and he said the same thing. He felt it was a process that worked. It's not necessarily something they do at all universities, and it was his decision to select the one before presenting it in front of the Board of Regents. And like I said, I 100% believe that's the best choice, because the Board of Regents aren't involved in athletics every single day. So I don't feel like they should be able to choose out of a handful of candidates. I think the committee does a very, very good job. It was as diverse as could be and well represented of the community, including especially with the addition of Ashley Lely at the very end. So, and I'll reiterate what I said yesterday, where those are the ones that handed President Lassner and basically said, and it was given in no order of priority. That's one thing that was stated. They just gave him a handful, and essentially saying, if you pick any of these people, the committee supports any of these picks, right? And that's why I have to keep saying it in case people missed it yesterday, because that's the point. If anyone has a problem, it's not like it was President Lassner that only was the one to look at the applications and choose completely on his own. So
this wasn't a one-man show.
Yeah. So that's why I can't wrap my head around all the issues that, why it was such a big deal. And aside from Regent Gabriel Lee, that's the good thing in terms of, aside from Regent Lee, every one of the regents seemed like they were very supportive of, should Craig Angelos be confirmed. They said they would be supportive. But yeah, Agent Lee was a little sus, as we like to say, because he was totally just very, very negative in terms of I will, what did he I won't support this guy, or he won't have my vote, basically.
Yeah, he straight up said no.
Yeah, the demeanor and the tone in his voice sounded like he was upset, completely upset about this guy even having a chance. So I'm like, who you been talking to? What did your buddy not, is that why they didn't get pushed through? So you're just going to be all habut about him not getting, he or she not getting the recommendation? Because like I said, the tone of just how he was dang, he's really standoffish, right?
It left me curious, just because he was the candidate does not have my support. I do not support this candidate. But if he is put into place, I will do everything in my power to support it. And, obviously big ups to Regent Lee, who that's your job. That's what you're supposed to do. And at the end of the day, I'm glad that he's able to stick with his gut. And if he didn't feel comfortable with it, then he should vote no. That's the way that it works. That's why it's the majority rules. And I think the biggest thing from us is we're just curious why I don't want to call it disdain, because that feels too strong, but why was he so anti Craig Angelos, and what is the reason behind it?
Because his buddy wasn't one that got the recommendation.
It's very possible.
I'm just playing like local politics here. And that's the funny thing, right? Is like people always talk about, actually, we got to take a break. Sorry. Hold that thought. When we come back, we'll hear Craig Angelos' opening statement from yesterday on Wake Up in the Den.
Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ulei Agbayani on the Hawai'i Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
I have a dream I hope will come true, that you're here with me and I'm here
I love
with
this song
you.
so much.
I wish that
I introduced the other half to this song last night. He didn't even know. I'm surprised. And to lava. He's like, did he just say lava? I showed him the actual short film. So he was like, did he just say lava? I was like, yes. Did I not introduce you to the song yet?
Oh my goodness. I'm glad you did introduce.
I know. It's like, it has to be between that and Bao. Those are like my two favorite Disney shorts. Actually, no, I forget what the other one is called, but there's also a Filipino one. And I just appreciate Disney and how they've been doing these shorts with like representing different cultures. But for those of you just tuning in and hearing that song, that was Lava. It is from a Disney short called Lava. But singing that rendition is Iam Tangi, who is vying for the top spot in American Idol. And so it is our Aloha Friday / Iam Tangi Friday, because we need to keep reminding you guys, Sunday, 2 p.m. Hawaii time, please vote for Iam. And yeah, that would be so great. I mean, can you imagine like a Polynesian winning American Idol? Like, I'm getting, oh my gosh, look at this chicken skin.
I can see it.
Holy moly. I'm just like, what? As I am sporting my Hawaii's Only hats. Shout out to Chef Kale for the hat. But yeah, so all throughout the show, we will play Iam Tangi's songs throughout American Idol. Hopefully, when we put our video on YouTube, it doesn't get flagged, but it's okay. At least we'll have it on the podcast version at the very least. So that's all I wanted to do. All right. You know what? Since we're up against the clock, let's just continue our regular conversation on what we've been talking about with Craig Angelos being confirmed, and then we'll play his introductory coming up in the next segment of the show.
Gotcha.
We're just having fun here. That's why, as Alan did pop in and, you know, gave us joking because he heard us talk about him about, you know, Rando no can handle. Can it come inside? It could get in here early enough to be on the show, as he does he's been going back and forth outside the studio, making a appearance outside the window. But yeah, were you able to find the exact quote?
The exact quote?
No.
No, because the Wi-Fi won't load it for me.
Oh.
But no, it was said rather quickly.
Yeah.
I'll find it quick.
So just to recap, Craig Angelos has been confirmed. He was confirmed yesterday to be the next University of Hawaii at Manoa Director of Athletics. The UH Board of Regents had voted 8 aye, 2 nay, and 1 abstain. And as we were talking about in the previous segment, Regent Lee and Tochiki were the two that voted nay, and Abigail Mawai was the student regent to abstain, which, you know what, I can kind of understand that. Like, if you're a student regent, it's one thing to abstain. You just don't have a vote either way. So I get it. But we were talking about in the first segment where it's just kind of weird that they kept talking about the process and not having enough time, like, because you didn't have 6 days to review all his credentials and maybe do your own due diligence and call up people if you were so concerned. But like I said, I was just worried about people or the Board of Regents and people getting to the Board of Regents, whoever their buddy is. And there's been a lot of negativity, and there's been a lot of negativity even out there from people in the sports media world, which is very unfortunate because a lot of people respect their you know, opinions and their takes. And I just don't like really prominent people to say these things to the public because they're going to take it and they're already going to have this negative tone when it should be positive from the very beginning. I mean, one thing that Craig Angelos said from the beginning was that when asked about, you know, you're not from here, yada, 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 he said, you know what, but being kind and being nice to people, that transcends all cultures. And that's kind of the theme of our show, right? So that really stood out to me, that I thought that was a perfect answer, because if you're kind and you're, like you said before, if you're willing to learn, which he seems very open-minded, I didn't get Todd Graham vibes from him where he's completely standoffish. It seemed like he's very open. From what I've heard about, like, say, Todd Graham, when he was out at the Nicole golf tournaments, like, he was just staying in his golf cart, not mingling with anybody. But granted, different types of position, I know, but the sentiment feels the same, where people have these reservations because they felt like, oh, this guy is, like, not from here. He doesn't seem like he has any ties. Yeah, his resume is great, but I don't know. Where Craig seemed a little more open, and I did, again, like his answer where, yeah, being kind, being nice to people, taking care of people, that transcends all cultures, because it does. And then it's up to you to learn the actual culture. And he has moved around enough, just because, it's the continent. He did move around, and not every state is the same either. So he's been able to adapt. And I know I've heard people's concerns about him leaving Long Island so quickly, but I'm like, the Hawaii job is open. You think he wants to stay in Long Island? I mean, it's not like he was just
as
like
the deputy as well. Like, it wasn't even as the full job. This is a far better job. And I mean, he had some really good quotes last night, I will say. He did seem nervous at times.
Oh, yeah.
Which he should be. It's a big-time job. It's a big-time opportunity, and he's been waiting his entire life for it, or at least he's been waiting since 2012 when he left FAU. It's a big-time opportunity. I really just hope he does get the support and, like we say, chance to prove himself to the people of Hawaii, because having those preconceived notions, having negativity around you as you go into a new job, a lot of times it can help drive it into the ground rather than help uplift, and that's not something that we should do. He did end his opening statement last night talking about how unity is going to be so important during his regime, as in unity all the way up to the legislature and the governor's office, the mayor's office, down through the coaches, fans, players. It's going to be important for everybody to be united in what they want. And I did end up finding that quote from Regent Lee, and I do think it's important we bring it up, just because we were, and I don't want to say critical of him, but it was something we were very curious about, and the reason why it was because, quote, or Regent Lee said, quote, "I'm against the candidate and will be voting no. I said everything I wanted to say in executive session. If he's voted in, I'll do everything I can to support him." So that just, it's, I don't know. When I hear that, it concerns me a little bit. One, as, well, what pause do you have?
And then I'm like, what did you say? Because I feel like any concerns you had, the way that he said that, because again, the executive session is supposed to be closed because legal matters could come up, which is totally understandable. But it seemed like there was more, like, it probably was not a legal thing that he had to say within. And that part, like, irritates me, because I'm like, I wish, all right, use the executive session to vent your frustrations or whatever and talk about legal stuff. But as it's supposed to be, the whole public meeting and talking about your concerns is supposed to be in front of the public. So and that's why I go back to them having a problem with the process. I'm like, well, I have a problem with your process. And it seems like you guys were discussing non-legal things behind closed doors, which is not supposed to be what happens. You're supposed to talk about it in the public, because why else did you take like 2.5 hours behind there? You don't take 2.5 hours to discuss legal things. You're taking 2.5 hours to say what you want to say and basically talk maybe bad about the candidate and not have to be held accountable for it. And then you come out and just talk about how you had a problem with the process. And I'm like, I still can't wrap my head around that, not having enough time, because if 6 days isn't enough time for you to review a candidate who you were giving the agenda, then I don't know what you're doing with your time.
I don't know. I think most of us would kill for 6 days for any of our responsibilities.
We skimmed through the agenda in like 2 minutes.
I was going to say, it was like 5 minutes, and then we went and did a deep dive into his life. It took me like probably 45 minutes to learn everything about this guy in the last 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
it's not terribly difficult. And here's the thing. I know that's my job. And that's why I say, like, there's a difference between any of us when it comes to our responsibilities. If you gave us 6 days, that would feel like almost too much time.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree. It's a little strange to be like,
and they knew they brought it up a lot yesterday too. They knew that this is a very important position to the public, hence why there were so much media there. They don't have that many cameras every week. Joke about that. Like if they're voting on like a provost or something, the public doesn't really have that much of an interest. And so if you know that this is going to be an important decision, you would almost like make time, right? You would make time. And so that's where I get the impression like, all right, did you guys just want to be able to pick from the three? And if that's the case about the process that you have a problem with, then I have to disagree, because I don't think you should deserve to pick, especially if there was the committee to President Lassner and now to the board. I'm like, I don't get it. Anywho, we're going to step aside, and when we come back, we will play Craig Angelos' opening statements from the press conference yesterday on Wake Up in the Den.
Back to more Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ulei Agbayani on the Hawai'i Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
I love you. I hear babies cry and I watch them grow. They'll know much more than.
Welcome back to all of you, the beautifulest of all the beautiful people. It's Wake Up in the Den. Ku'ulei Agbayani, Paul Brecht on the Hawai'i Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760. Oh, beautiful, beautiful singing. Again, that's Iam Tongi, who is in the top 3 for American Idol. Don't forget to vote for him this Sunday, beginning at 2 p.m. Hawaii time. So they are going to be live coast to coast, and that is the time that you can vote. So make sure you put reminders on your phone, 2 p.m. I don't think they released the text numbers yet, but the best way that I tell everyone, because if you try to go through the app, then you got to, put in your email. And I know some people like myself don't always like that, but it's very, very easy to text. They'll give you the number on the screen. I'll post it on social media, of course, and they'll post just to text it to, and then you'll text his his contestant number, and you can vote up to 10 times. So you just keep going and sending that number, so everyone gets at least 10 votes. So tell all your friends, vote for Iam Tongi so that he can be the next American Idol, and we can have a Polynesian, Kahuku's own, as the American Idol. Again, chicken skin. I can't even believe right now. Well, anyways, as promised, this is the opening statement from your next University of Hawaii Manoa Athletics Director, Craig Angelos.
All right, thank you very much. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. This isn't my first time being with the University of Hawaii. My first time was when I played baseball here years ago. And I was thinking about this the other day, that during that game, I hit a towering shot out the left field line, thinking it was going to be out, only to have it held up and taken away through that Manoa mist that I kept hearing about. And so when I was flying here today, I thought, this time, this is a home run, finally. I've got a home run, at least for myself. Hopefully it's going to be for you guys too, but at least for myself. So I'm really pleased to be here. I wanted to start by just thanking a number of people first. Certainly, I wanted to start by thanking Chairman Moore and the Board of Regents for their support and vote of confidence. I know the process has been going on for a while, but I really appreciate them giving me that vote of confidence. President Lassner, I just really want to thank him very much for the opportunity. Without him, I wouldn't be able to be here. I owe him everything at this point, and I'm confident that hopefully he'll look back and see this was a good hire. So that's going to be my goal. So thank you very much, President. That means a lot to me. I certainly want to recognize the search committee chaired by Michael Bruno, as well as Susan Icor, who did, I thought, a great job. I had a great opportunity to Zoom from Brooklyn, New York, one night with them, and thought I thought it went very well, and thought I had a chance for this job. So I was very pleased with the opportunity to be forwarded to the President. I certainly want to recognize a few others. Deb Ishii over here, who really has been my companion for the last 2 weeks or so. I mean, she's been helping with the search process and the whole coordinating of it, and she's done a great job. Certainly want to thank Dan here, and also Derek, also, who have been instrumental in setting up this press conference, as well as helping me prepare and working with you all for this opportunity today. So I have a lot of people to thank. Two more I want to just thank is first my children, Elena, Alexis, Abby, Austin, Aaron, and Olivia with an A, so she didn't feel left out. But the reason I want to recognize them is they've been with me for this whole journey. This is the 8th institution I've been to, the 9th if I count the NCAA. So I've been to a lot of different schools throughout my career, and they've been following me or with me the whole way, and have had to go to multiple schools, multiple high schools, multiple friends, multiple teams, and have really had a hard time. Not hard time, they've enjoyed the journey. We've had a great time, but they've been with me every step of the way, and I want to recognize them and thank them for their efforts, because this is a big win for them. They're very happy about it as they're watching from home. And finally, I want to introduce my wife, Craig Angelos, over there, the one with multiple liaison. This is all new to us, but we're very excited about it. Kristen, we've been married for over 30 years, have 6 children together, and she's been with me the whole time in our journey. I remember years ago when we first went to law school at Creighton University, and she cried for the first 1,000 miles from Salt Lake to Omaha, leaving her big family behind. But after that, she's been a trooper, a real warrior all the way throughout. And so I want to recognize her, and I know she's thrilled to come to the tropics and make this her home. So thank you very much for your support along the way too. Yesterday I was thinking, I flew 5,000 miles at 500 miles an hour for 11 straight hours in a middle seat. And I was never more excited to do that. And I thought this is indicative of the tone I want to set going forward, because I wrote this down last night as I was flying in. I thought we're going to be, this trip is going to be indicative of what hopefully my tenure will be, and that is that we're going to go as long as we need to go. We're going to go as fast as we need to go. We're going to go as far as we need to go, and we're going to do it even if we're uncomfortable, which references the middle seat. And that's where I want to go. I really believe that David Matlin has done a great job. The people before him too. It's a great athletic department. He's leaving in great shape. It's a great opportunity to be able to sit and talk with him in the last 2 or 3 or 4 days. Even today we spent an hour in the green room, as I call it, waiting for this opportunity. But to be able to have that transition is excellent, because you usually don't see that in college athletics, because usually the outgoing AD's leaving and just doesn't want to have anything to do with the people he's leaving behind or the job he's leaving behind. And the new AD maybe just wants to start fresh and not worry about what's happened before. But this is a great transition. He's been able to tell me a lot about the department. He's done a great job over the last 8 years, and I want to recognize him for his efforts. And thank you for being here. It really means a lot to me, and really means a lot that you can help me through this transition. I know the last 6 days, a lot of discussion has been about this process and about me in particular. I've learned a lot in the press about myself, things I didn't even recognize. I didn't know my batting average way back when. I didn't know a lot of things. And of course, I learned a lot about the department too. I know that there was some discussion about my lack of local ties to the community and whatnot. And I do totally understand that and recognize that, and want to give you my solid promise that I will certainly try to immerse myself in this community. I want to look, I want to listen, I want to learn from everybody that's here. I want to be part of it and make this our home. I know we've lived in a lot of different places over my 8 years, anywhere from, or over my 8 stops and even beyond, from LA to the Midwest, to the Mideast, to Miami, Philadelphia, New York City. I've been to a lot of different places and tried to immerse ourselves in all the different cultures, from our friends in South Florida to our friends in Philly, to our friends in New York. And I plan on doing the same thing here. And I know this is more unique than most any place I've ever been. I recognize that. I've been told that. I do recognize that. And it's my goal to settle it right in and do a great job for you and be part of this community. A couple things I just want to focus on going forward. I know David's leaving it in great shape, but I mean, I certainly want to recognize 4 areas. I certainly want to continue the great work he's done with the student athlete experience. I know he's done great things with academic advising, mental health, career counseling, work with the Alston opportunities, the CO, cost of attendance, NIL opportunities, collectives, things of those nature that I want to continue to expand on. Secondly, I want to certainly work with the coaches to help them be successful, to help them win conference championships, go to the NCAA tournament, win the NCAA tournament like Charlie's done 2 out of the last 3 years, go to bowl games, make you guys proud of our performance on the field, because after all, this is about competition on the field. Certainly, there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes, but this is about competition, and I know that's how they get measured, and I want to help them be successful in that area. Thirdly, I want to really work on a lot of what David's already started in the capital project. Certainly, the Aloha Stadium project that's been talked about a lot. I certainly want to immerse myself in that area. That's an area I have a little bit of a specialty in from my days at Florida Atlantic University when I was able to work on a public-private partnership there and get build a 30,000-seat football stadium. I know this is a different kind of project, but I certainly want to be involved in that and try to help bring first-class facilities, not just to the football program, but a lot of opportunities in baseball, softball, the women's soccer stadium, the men's track, or the track stadium. So there's a lot of great opportunities to make these a first-class facilities, and which many of them already are, but we'll see what we can do in that regard. And then the fourth thing I want to do is raise a lot of money. I know that that's helpful in any place we go. That's what I love to do. I love to get out in the community. I love to meet as many people as I can. I'd say in the last 6 days, I've been able to either through text or through actual telephone call meet with maybe 15 to 17 local leaders, political leaders, legislative leaders, business leaders, anywhere from exchanging texts or having telephone conversations with the governor, with the mayor, with a lot of local business leaders. And that's just within my 6 days of people trying to get us together. So I really want to get out and meet as many people as I can, carry the torch for the Rainbow Warriors, and try to raise as much money as I can. And you have my pledge, I will definitely do that. And I will be calling or talking to everybody within earshot of my voice and give you the opportunity to join up or to say no, but you will be asked. So I do want to spend a lot of time doing that. Let me just finalize by saying a couple things. You know, this is your university. This is such a great opportunity. I think we're 2,500 miles away from the closest Division I institution. I Googled that today. USC is 2,550 miles from us. I figured that was a good benchmark for us. But this is your university. The whole state, all 8 islands, rally around this, and not just here, but even on the continent with alumni and whatnot out there. Such an iconic brand, the University of Hawaii, and I really want to keep that going. But I do know that it's going to take a lot of people working together. We've got to be unified in our approach, anywhere from the governor's office to the mayor's office to the legislative personnel to donors to university personnel to season ticket holders, fans, student athletes, coaches, parents, everybody. If we're aligned all in one and we have no divisions amongst us, we can accomplish a lot of things. And I've seen this happen like at Florida Atlantic when we built our football stadium there. Everybody aligned themselves with the process and bought into it. Even though they didn't always agree on things, they did align themselves with the process, and we were able to do great things there. And I think we can continue to do great things here, but it certainly is going to take that alignment and working hard to get this done. And so I leave you with my quote that I've learned since I was 17 that I use all the time as kind of a benchmark for me, from Teddy Roosevelt, Man in the Ring. You've probably heard a variation of it, but it goes something like this: far better is it to dare mighty things and win glorious triumphs, even though checkered by failure, than to take rank with those poor spirits who neither enjoy nor suffer much because they live in that great twilight that knows no victory or defeat. And so it's my pledge to you all that we will dare mighty things and we will win glorious triumphs. We might stumble along the way, but we'll never give up. We'll always press forward and we'll make things happen. And as we line ourselves together, we'll be able to do great things. And that's my goal and that's my pledge to you. And hopefully when we look back at my tenure, the president will be glad he hired me. The Board of Regents will be glad they voted for me, and you'll all be glad I'm here. But it's not about me, it's about doing this together. All of our team, our athletic department team, everybody I've mentioned, we work together, and I'm going to be part of that process, and you have my word that I will do the very best I can. And I'll finish with Winston Churchill. It's not about doing your best, but it's doing what's required, and that's what I will do, is make sure our best is what is required, and we'll be successful. So that's my goal, and I appreciate you coming here. Mahalo.
And that was the opening statement immediately following the confirmation of Craig Angelos as the new University of Hawaii Manoa Athletics Director. Again, we talked extensively about his confirmation and the Board of Regents and the process and everything. One thing that did kind of come up, and once again, there's more to that press conference yesterday, so if you want to listen to the full thing, if you missed it yesterday afternoon when we did play it live on Hawaii Sports Radio Network, you can go on hawaiisportsradio.com or wherever you get most podcasts to listen to the entirety of the press conference, where he does talk about, or he was asked about, all the questions about him not being here, but to which I thought he gave a great answer about just being kind. That transcends all cultures. He was asked a little bit about his time at FAU, which he kind of, I mean, we talked about it extensively on my theory on what happened. He said that he actually might have gotten a naming rights opportunity for the stadium, and apparently it might not have been approved. And then we talked about how after Craig Angelos was fired, then there was all this controversy about the potential naming rights of the stadium, the decision that the president who fired Craig Angelos had made to essentially name the stadium after a for-profit prison. I still cannot believe, who. Yeah, she does not deserve to be the president if she thinks that's a good idea. But all these controversies. So that's why we talked about it. I believe it was Monday's show, where, hey, just because he got fired somewhere, sometimes there's more to the story. And that's what it seems like in his case, because he was there for 8.5 years before he got fired. And he got fired by a new president who was maybe on the job for only a year until she fired him. So, but that seems to be the only blemish aside from the, him being a baseball guy and the BYU connection. We'll forgive him for that. Especially the BYU thing. We can forgive him for, having went to the school of our rivals, but it's cool. But in all seriousness, though, the only blemish was his firing. And I feel like we did a good job in explaining, hey, it's not, maybe it wasn't necessarily what he did or did not do. This could have been the doing of the president, who was forced to resign herself a year after the stadium debacle. So if you put all of that together, you're like, maybe.
Yeah, putting the clues together. And he also made it a point yesterday to talk a little bit about FAU, his time at FAU. And he did mention how he's like, I felt that things had never really been better at FAU at the time. And he really did kind of acknowledge just the butting of heads with the new president. Those things happen. And like you said, we can forgive him for being a baseball BYU guy, especially if he helps come bring this Aloha Stadium plan to fruition a lot quicker than it's seemingly going to get done.
Yeah, he actually, before I left my house, I was watching his interview on Hawai'i News Now, and he was kind of asked about BYU in a joking way as well, and then Craig Angelos was just like, what is that BYU? And BYU's all the way in the review mirror. He's like, it's all about Hawaii now. I'm like, exactly. We
answer.
We don't talk about BYU here.
Right answer.
Although that was one of the most epic wins in actually that was the last game in Aloha Stadium, the BYU game the last game a lot of fans were able to witness at Aloha Stadium, in that epic BYU showdown that we had. But anyways, when we come back, we'll wrap things up on this Aloha Friday on Wake Up in the Den.
Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ulei Agbayani on the Hawai'i Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Tell you I love you once more. Time is gone, so here it is. I'm not your son, you're not my father. We're just two grown men saying goodbye.
Oh, need to hold it together, Ku'ulei. Finish this little Friday show.
I was gonna say this song, it made me cry the first time I heard it, and the second, third, fourth.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, I pretty much cried every single time. That's originally done by James Blunt. That song is Monsters, but that was, in case you guys don't really know what's going on, that was Iam Thongi's basically audition song in front of the judges. The first time we've all heard him sing in front of them, and that was it catapulted him. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's the most watched audition, or the second most audition. I think right now on YouTube it's 15 million views on YouTube. So his popularity, especially from that song, just catapulted him, and he became one of the fan favorites. And not just in Hawaii, because I've noticed, because I've watched some of the shows, and this is the first time I've watched American Idol in forever, but when he would go and take the stage, he usually gets the loudest cheers when he just comes on the stage, right? And I think it's because does. He's just so genuine. He does exude aloha and Hawaii. And so I think a lot of the people we talk about, Craig Angelos saying, just be kind. And it's all about being genuine, just be yourself. And that's Iamtangi. So again, and he had a massive following that came out in his homecoming on Tuesday. But remember, everyone, tell your friends this Sunday, 2 p.m. Hawaii time. I want to say it's like 2 to 5 or something Hawaii time that you can vote. And the only time you can vote for him for American Idol. So that's why we've been playing Iamtangi the whole show on this Aloha Friday to remind everybody to vote for him this Sunday, 2 p.m. Hawaii time. The show will be live, and yeah, hopefully we get our first American Idol again. It feels like so long ago since Jasmine Trias was like made it the furthest of someone from Hawaii, and it's exciting to think that it's that close. Top 3, man. That's no joke. So it's very exciting. Everyone, use all your 10 votes, and then okay, we can get back to sports, but I just need to remind everybody about that. I need to do my job.
We are a sports show, but we're also a competition show, and that's what American Idol is. And I'm glad you brought up how Iamtangi, he represents Hawaii so well because of the aloha that he does exude. It's just a positive feeling every time you see him on your screen, every time he comes onto stage, every time you hear that beautiful voice that comes out of his mouth. It's just... I have enjoyed watching his journey. I will continue to enjoy watching his journey. Yeah. And
Sunday is what, and then I'm sure he's gonna do big things. Hopefully he'll be able to use this, make enough money to be able to move back home, because he does now live in Seattle with his family. He mentioned that during his audition that they asked him, the judges were like, why would you leave Hawaii? It's so beautiful. And I mean, he said exactly the sentiment why everyone leaves Hawaii is because priced out of paradise. And then and obviously the judges are multi-millionaires, so they're like, don't know what that's like, but it's just true for here in Hawaii. So hopefully Iam and his family, he can make enough money to maybe bring them back home and live out there in the Kahuku side where he belongs. But we'll see. Either way, again, this Sunday, 2 p.m. Hawaii time, vote for Iamtangi. Just watch American Idol or go on social media, and they'll have like the number to, at the very least, text into quite a few times. All right. Just to wrap things up, I guess we'll switch gears. There's a couple minutes left. I don't know. At this point, I feel like it's like we're just talking about UH and just doubling down again. People just give Craig Angelos. Gosh, I'm going to keep saying that because that's the way it's spelled. Alan said it best. And even some people that listen to the podcast, thank you, by the way, but even said, and I know you said also, Paul, but other people have told me like, yeah, Alan's right. I don't know why it's pronounced Angeles, but so I apologize. I'm not doing it on purpose. It's just when I read it, it's just a natural thing to say Angelos, but it's pronounced Angeles for whatever reason.
When I get a chance, myself, so I'll have to get to the bottom of that sometime. I'll be like, hey, just man to man here, so I can share on Ku'ule's Wake Up in the Den. Why is it Angeles instead of Angelos? Yeah, it's the question that we all have. But last thing, too, about Craig, and again, you can listen to this on hawaiisportsradio.com or wherever you get most podcasts. In the full press conference that he had yesterday, he actually did, joke around. He said he's seen what has been said, and that's what we've talked about before. Like, it's just mean. Like, I don't like that people are being so mean and saying mean things about someone that hasn't even started on the job, someone they've never even met, just having their prejudice from the get-go. And I talked about it on Monday that I think it's maybe because I've always been the underdog and someone that people like doubted because of whether I didn't have the experience or I'm not from a certain area for a long time and I was a new person. But I did appreciate that he kind of took a jab at himself about like, yeah, I know I'm the haole coming in. So I'm like, okay, you have been kind of reading and like hearing what people say and you get it. So I think the fact that he was supposed to be real about that, I hope people can appreciate, that, hey, he's open to saying that, what he's been reading, what everybody has been saying. So at the end of the day, like I said, everything that I've seen, he seems like a genuinely nice
human at the very, very least, and his resume at least speaks to what he's able to do. Again, I didn't get Todd Graham vibes. I didn't get to see him in person or meet him in person like you did, Paul, but from the press conference, I didn't get Todd Graham vibes where he feels like he's standoffish. He even said he'll give everyone his number that was there, not on YouTube, but he'll give everybody his number so he can chat with everyone.
I will say, so I mentioned I introduced myself to him after the press conference. I thought it was important, being that he's going to be an important figure. He does have an impressive handshake. It is a good, firm, solid handshake. It was a big thing for me. It was part of the reason I did introduce myself. Is something I want to see. It's my own little test. So for the people out there wondering, Craig Angelos, good handshake, good, firm, solid handshake. And normally that's a good sign of a good leader. So I hope that is a sign of things to come for him going forward. And like you said, he's trying, and that's really all you can do. And any reasonable person, all reasonable fans, they will understand that as long as he tries his best, both with the culture and with his actual job, that's all they can really ask for.
Well said. All right. Well, that wraps up our Aloha Friday show. Don't forget, vote for Ian Tongi on Sunday, 2 p.m. Hawaii time. And yeah, check us out on YouTube later on today, and the camera falling down. I told you it was going to get weird. For Paul Brecht, I'm Ku'ule Agbayani. Mahalo for listening. Have a great weekend. It's been Wake Up in the Den. Bye!